Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the next Child Life in Action COVID-19. I'm Meagan Roloff, Director of Member Engagement and Partnerships for ACLP, and we are doing this series to connect with child life specialists as we all try to navigate this really kind of unprecedented time. This video is going to be a little different than some of our others. You've probably noticed that most of the videos we've done so far have been very action-oriented, things you can do, things you can try in your practice. And that's important, and we're going to keep providing that for you. But today we wanted to do something a little different and focus more on the human aspect of it. As child life specialists, we're often very good about doing this for the patients and families we work with, but maybe not always the best at doing it for ourselves. So I am thrilled to be joined today by Kristy Berksza and Teresa Schoell, and we're going to talk a little bit about just, the more human side of all of this, and we'll save the, nitty-gritty what to do for another time. So to start off, I'm just going to kick it to Kristy if you want to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Kristy Berksza. I am a child life specialist at Newton Wellesley Hospital, just a little bit outside of Boston, and I mainly work on the inpatient floor.
Great. And Teresa?
I work at University of Rochester Golisano Children's Hospital in Rochester, New York, and I cover, I sort of have three hats at work. So I cover our NICU step-down unit. I cover our palliative care teams, both pediatric and adult. And I also work with our adolescent patients transitioning into adult medicine.
Great. So the part of why I was so excited to talk to both of you today is you're both experienced child life specialists, but you've both spoken up in recent weeks, either on the forum or on the Facebook group that's been really active, about experiencing kind of some doubts and questions about having the skills to navigate all of this with children and families. And if you're comfortable, I was wondering if you could tell a little bit about, kind of what feelings were triggering that for you.
So for me, I was feeling really often, every time I worked, that I just don't know how to do this, at least a couple times a day. And I don't know what the right answer is. And some of that was rules are changing every day. So we really actually don't know what the right answer is or how to do certain things, even just the logistics of things. And I was feeling an exhaustion that I don't normally feel when I do my job regularly, even though I wasn't in the hospital as often as I am when it's not a pandemic.
Right.
So that exhaustion and that self-questioning, that sort of, I think we all sort of like to reflect and review our work so that we can continue to be good practitioners. But I just felt like I was doing a lot more questioning of actions and what to do. And it felt foreign to me. It was unsettling.
Yeah. What about you, Teresa?
For me, my basic way of moving through my professional life is information seeking. The more I know, the more I understand what's going on, the more grounded I feel, the more capable I feel. When I'm working with a patient, if I'm going to be teaching them about their diagnosis or their treatment, I want to know everything about it so that I feel prepared for any question they could ask. I'm ready with the answer, any help they need. I understand what's going on and how to help them. But COVID, it's a moving target, right?
Yeah.
Every time new information comes out, it's, new information. Study it, learn it, integrate it, prepare. Okay. Oh, now I'm ready. Oh, wait, there's new information. Okay, hang on. Read it, study it, learn it, integrate it. Okay, now I'm ready to go. Oh, there's new information. And you just keep doing it. And it's this moving target. So I never feel confident that for me, those moments when I didn't feel confident, I understood what was expected of me, what I should expect of my hospital, my patients, my families, how to help them understand what's expected. With everything changing so fast, it's just really, for me, it made me feel like I was standing on wet sand, and it just kept moving underneath, and all my energy was into trying to find my balance instead of trying to help the children and families find their balance.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good, sorry. I was just going to say, Teresa reminded me of the fact that I too am an information seeker. And
also
in my job, normally, if there's something I'm not sure about, there's always a resource to turn to, right? The doctors will be able to explain to me this procedure, or the nurses will be able to walk me through concerns about this family or what have you. But I feel like something that contributes to this too is that we're in an environment of uncertainty. No one really knows what we're dealing with. And so there isn't one sure person to turn to, because you can turn to two different doctors and they might have differing opinions about what the best practice is. And that too, I think, makes it really hard, and not having a place to ground yourself, not having a pole to balance in the wet sand with,
right.
Makes it all that more terrifying.
Yeah. So, I'm a fellow information seeker, and, obviously, I'm a child life specialist, but I'm not working in a hospital. I work for ACLP now. So my day-to-day is very different from what you and most of our members are experiencing. But, for my information seeking needs, I'm starting to find like, I just need to shut it down at certain times and just not look at the news and not look at social media. But I don't know if that's maybe a luxury I have because I'm not working directly in a hospital, or if you're able to do some of that for yourselves as well. Is that helpful?
I use a husband filter on all of my media. It's a wonderful device. It's definitely not the most, it's a little bit lazy, but it's also very protective for me. So husband follows high quality news sources and then distills down and gives me what I need to know, usually when I ask for it. So I'm in a place where I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Give me the download. And he'll catch me up. Or if something's going on and I say, hey, anything in the news about this? And he'll be like, yes, here's what you need to know. It's definitely a luxury to have a husband filter.
I love that. It's your own personal curated news source.
Right? I highly recommend.
So I too have a husband filter, but I think that's an ongoing thing for me. I'm not someone who watches the news a lot to begin with. And I have actively avoided the regular news. I feel like I can get all that I need to know about the virus and whatnot from my hospital, who must give us 3 different daily briefings.
Wow.
And that's enough for me. And then the rest of it filters in from colleagues, friends, and my husband filter. And if I find something is too much, if I feel like I'm in a place where it's just been a long day, or I've had a moment, and I'm not ready for that, then I just let people know, or I scroll past that email, and I just I do try to limit when I'm not ready to take in all that information.
Yeah. So, cognitively, it makes perfect sense that, feelings of doubt and uncertainty about just kind of the state of the world in general right now would leak into other areas of life, including, kind of your professional capabilities. And it can be tough to effectively manage all of that. Do you have any kind of steps that you're taking to either counter some of these doubts and worries, or, just manage it?
Yeah. So I posted on the Facebook group about how I was having a hard time, and every day I go and I feel like a student on her first day, even though I've been working in the field for 15 years. And that was hard, but I'm a big believer that vulnerability is a good thing. And I have to be honest, I got so much support and a lot of Me Too's, and that alone was so helpful. The staff that I work with have been really amazing as well. We meet every week on Zoom and we talk about what's hard, and we try to recognize each other's strengths and accomplishments from the week. And when I can catch myself sort of questioning myself, sometimes you do it subconsciously, but when I can catch myself, I'll try to stop and think of one thing I've done that day that's been a positive thing, that's been helpful, that's been important. so that certainly there is a lot of doubt. I don't know that I'm always doing the right thing, but I can balance that. Both can be true. I can have a lot of doubt, and I can also acknowledge that I am doing some things well and right. And
absolutely.
For me, I've been in the field a little over a decade now. Most of the start of that was in a small program, a one-person program, and then it became a two-person program. So the forum for me was always kind of a lifeline from the very beginning of my child life career. And it's part of my comfort zone. So for me, reaching out to the forum is always a great place for information, for benchmarking, for ideas and inspiration, for support. So that's always there, and I love it. The greatest growth I've had as a professional is at times when I feel uncomfortable, when I feel unsure, when I feel a little off balance, because then it's all sorts of new professional muscles I got to use to regain my balance. So for me, when I started feeling really kind of, off balance and off kilter, I leaned into it, and I went to the forum, and I was really honest about, this feels huge and this feels big, and how do we do this? I mean, everyone everywhere, media, hospital, home, work, everyone's talking about COVID and how it's this big thing. So it felt like this is very big, this is very different. And it's tempting to say like, oh, it's the same skills we always use as child life. We just do it it's just a new virus. We do the same thing. And in some ways that's very, very true, but in some ways it's very, very different. And the responses that I was able to get on the forum, because I mean, I felt pretty vulnerable posting, but I think it opens up space, and into that space came incredible, wonderful child life specialists to say, yes, it's different and it's the same, and here's how to connect those dots. And, the wonderful evidence-based practice, research, knowledge, intellectual, here's how to connect the dots between the skills you have and the skills you need. And then the emotional connection from another person, here's how to connect the dots. And then several people emailed me directly as well with lots of great, analogies. If you're thinking about vent shortages, and how, if I'm presented with having to support a child of an adult patient who's removed from a ventilator because of a vent shortage, that is nothing like what I've done before. Mm-hmm. And one person emailed me to say, you're right, it's nothing like what you've done before. Also, it's kind of like something you may have done before if you worked with organ transplant patients, because there are more patients waiting for transplant than there are organs available. So that's also a limited medical resource. I thought, that is a really smart point. So it's different, it's the same, but leaning in to that discomfort and then reaching out to the community has been where I find my balance, and I come out of it going, okay, I can do this. And, 3-4 days later, after that whole posting on the forum, I got my first COVID consult for children of adult patients, and off I went. And going into that encounter and working with those children, I felt so much more in balance and so much more prepared because of our child life community. I didn't feel like I was going into that alone, and that really helped. And I didn't feel like I had to go in there with my superhero cape on, feeling like I know what I'm doing. I have all the answers. I've got all the skills and the interventions and the assessment, and watch me go, right? Like I could go in vulnerable, a little unsure, and that's okay. It's actually kind of helpful.
One of the things I've always loved about the child life community is the willingness to support each other and share knowledge, resources. And I feel like that has just grown immensely over the last month and a half. And I think that's a beautiful thing that we have this community that wants to help support and, be the cheerleaders when you need it, and also be the resource providers when you need it, and just listen when you need that too. We validate children and families' emotions. It's important we do that for each other as well. Teresa, you were mentioning going in with your superhero cape, and we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording as well, that I think it's really powerful that you two, as experienced child life specialists, made those vulnerable posts to the community and are having this conversation about being vulnerable and not knowing necessarily what to do every second of the day right now. And thinking about that in light of maybe some newer child life specialists, less experienced child life specialists, who I imagine are feeling a lot of the same uncertainties, but maybe haven't felt the freedom to voice that in the way that you two have. I was wondering if you have any thoughts or advice for newer child life specialists that are maybe kind of getting thrown into the fire a little bit here. We actually had in the recent survey that we put out to just kind of assess what's happening with child life practice across all CCLSs, we had a few respondents say, I don't know, I'm starting in 2 weeks, I'll find out. So I was just curious, if you guys had any thoughts for people that are newer to all of this and maybe still navigating that transition from student to professional, which it's definitely a transition.
So I think for me, what's been helpful has been to, I can get overwhelmed by the number of things that I want to accomplish in one day, especially because we're being asked to do things in non-traditional ways. Our team has been asked to sometimes help with adult patients or just provide resources for the nurses to help their adult patients. And it's hard to know, balancing the children, balancing the adults, we've done a lot of sort of trying to recognize the staff and keep staff spirits up. What's most important for my day, and just like, I make a list and then it becomes overwhelming because I think to myself, how am I going to get all these things done? And what's been helpful for me is to just say, okay, what's the most important thing that I can do right now in this minute, based on who's available and what I'm capable of and things like that. And then just go do that thing. And if I tell myself that if I get that one thing done that day, then I've helped. And then I just go to the next, and I just keep trying to make the next right decision. Don't feel like you have to do all of it. Just focus. I try to be where my feet are. So when I get a little overwhelmed with everything that's going on, I kind of look down and look at my shoes, which is kind of a silly thing to do, but it just reminds me to stop spinning about all the things that could be happening right now and just remember, what am I doing right now? And refocus. And that helps me to feel purposeful, and it helps me to doubt less because I'm actively doing something.
I would say know that you're not alone. You're not alone, not just as a new professional, not just as a student transitioning to the professional world, not as a new child life specialist. Experienced child life specialists are feeling it too. People who've been in the field 3 times as long as I have, they're feeling it too. We're all feeling it, and it's okay. I think as a profession, we spend a lot of time trying to be as close to perfect as we can, to always have that solution, to always fix the problem, sort of that superhero complex. But we're human, right? I mean, how many times have in the last 2 weeks has a child life professional said to a patient, especially to a parent, to another staff member, you have to put your own oxygen on first before you help your child, right? And we go around and we tell people this over and over again, put your own oxygen on. You have to take care of yourself so you can take care of these kids. But if that's the analogy, it's almost like as child life specialists, we default to being the flight crew. We're the ones walking up and down the aisle without oxygen, telling the parents, put your own oxygen on before you help your child, telling staff, take care of yourself so you can take care of the patients. And we don't tell ourselves. So when I am feeling off kilter, when I'm feeling off balance, when I'm feeling unprepared and unsure of myself, for me, I stop and think, if this were a patient, if this were a parent, if this were a team member, what would I say to them? And I owe it to myself and the people I take care of to take care of myself as well as I take care of my patients and families, and to be as gentle with myself as I am with them, and to be as forgiving and understanding and accepting. So I guess I child life myself.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're reminding me of a supervisor during my internship made the comment to me once that, like, the goal of child life, it's not necessarily to make things sunshine and rainbows and make everybody happy.
Yeah.
It's to make it better, less traumatic than it would be if we weren't there.
Yes.
Yep.
And that sometimes that needs to be enough. If you get the smiles and sunshine and rainbows, all the better. But sometimes just having it be better because you were there has to be enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, kindness goes a long way. I think that's something to remember, that especially in a time when everyone is stressed, so they don't have a lot of kindness to give others, even just being a kind presence in your hospital is a win. It's huge, and you're helping others. And I think, Teresa, you reminded me, you made a really great point about taking care of yourself. And it's something I've been thinking a lot about lately. As a profession, we talk about self-care and boundaries and things like that. And when we talk about self-care as a society, people often talk about things like pedicures or shopping or things that aren't available right now. And I'm a big believer in self-care being a lot less glamorous than that. It's making sure you've had a snack. It's making sure you're getting enough sleep and that you're eating food that nourishes you, and that you're spending time with the communities that fill your cup, so that then you have something to give others. It doesn't have to be something glamorous. It doesn't have to be something flashy. It can be a piece of chocolate in the middle of the day. It can be a bag of Cheez-Its because you haven't eaten since breakfast and it's 3 p.m. Like Teresa said, you're not going to be able to help others unless you're present and nourished yourself. You have to have something within you to be able to give something away. And our profession is one that is a giving profession. So yeah, you have to gas up your tank if you want to keep going.
I think one of the most profound things that we can do to provide self-care for ourselves is to be honest first with ourselves and then with others about who we are and who our authentic self is. There are amazing child life specialists with extraordinary art skills who fill up their battery by doing beautiful chalk art outside their children's hospital to inspire staff and children and families. And then there are child life specialists who think, if my boss asked me to do that, it would ruin my day. Right? And so if you feel like I'm one of those, like, please don't make me touch chalk. I have no artistic skills. I can barely get through a game of hangman without someone going, what is that? But if I can't be, right, so if everyone's like, oh, child life's going to do all the great art and it's going to be great and everyone go do art, and I don't say anything, then I'm not taking care of myself. But if I speak up and I say, you know what, that is a really creative and awesome project. Can we let the artists on the team who love to do that stuff do that? And I'm going to go see my patients because that's what fills my battery. Or I'm going to go make this data spreadsheet and upload our stuff into the data center because that fills my battery. It totally does. I love spreadsheets, but I know I'm weird. But you have to be honest with yourself first about what it is that uses your energy and what it is that refills your energy. And then you have to be honest with the people around you, even if what fills your battery is not what people think fills the battery of a child life specialist. So I think that's a huge component of self-care, to be honest about. about where you're at. Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you both for your time, for your vulnerability and being willing to have this conversation, and for the really, I think, thoughtful advice that I hope, all child life specialists will take to heart, because these are definitely challenging times, unprecedented for the child life field. But I think the silver lining in all of this is we are seeing the profession pull together in an incredible way. The resources being created and shared, the innovation happening in terms of how we connect with children and families is really incredible, and has the potential to open up doors for us once the world restabilizes. But that's only worth it if we all don't burn out trying to get there. So just thank you for having this conversation. Truly appreciate it. And to everyone else, we'll see you for the next Child Life in Action.
Thanks, Meagan.
Thank you so much.
Bye.